Oh, dang. I am Kim Tracy with the Maxwell James Speaker Agency. I was trying to catch Dr. TC North dancing as we dive into the 6 steps to mastering fear. And you can see that TC, he's rather energetic today because he is going to recap for us the big 4 as well as the steps that we have already covered.
Thank you, Kim. So happy to dance for you virtually. So the big 4 fears that we've been discussing in the 6-step process, the big 4 are fear of failure, fear of success, the cryptic one, fear of rejection, and fear of selling products, services, ideas, and selling yourself. And so we talk about mastering fear, and just a reminder that when we talk about mastering fear, it does not mean that you'll be without fear. It means that the fears you have, both conscious and subconscious, you bring to consciousness, and now you are dealing with them. You're in control of them. You may still have feelings of fear. That's normal. Everybody has fears. But are they in control of you, or are you in control of them? So this 6-step process that we're involved in is a process to help you become the master of your fears so that you are in control of them, and everybody wants control of them, their own brains, their own minds, which gives them control of their life. So we have done step 1, identify, step 2, embrace, step 3, disidentify, step 4, worst case scenario. Now this step 5 is what we're on today, and it really ties into the worst case scenario, which is, what is the probability it's actually going to happen? Mm-hmm. So in our 2 examples from our last video, we had Alice, who actually had a really wonderful worst case scenario, and looks like she probably chose it because it was better than not going to her worst case scenario and staying in the situation she was in. And the other one was with entrepreneurs. If an entrepreneur makes a big radical strategy and it sets them up for failure, then maybe that's not something you want to do. So today is about the probability of worst case scenario happening. So we'll use the entrepreneur example. And so if you got somebody who's highly skilled in their area, they have the sales, the marketing, the operations, the technology, they have the different pieces in place, and they really look at what's the probability if they change a major strategy, what's the probability that could take their company under? And let's say they come up and it's like, oh boy, it's really 50-50. Well, for most of us, most entrepreneurs, that's too high. That's an unacceptable risk. Mm-hmm. So you have to identify in that situation what is a level of acceptable risk, and is 2 to 5% an acceptable risk if the upside is really high. Mm-hmm. And so if something has a high probability of taking you to the worst case scenario, then that's key to changing something so that you minimize the probability. Okay. You take it down closer to 0, something that's an acceptable level. There's still a probability, but it's an acceptable level of probability. So you have to bring it down to something that doesn't keep you focused on the fear, that you're aware of the possibility, and you can accept it. One great example that we have never talked about is, I've done a lot of work with Olympic athletes, and a lot of the Olympic athletes I worked with were Winter Olympians, and literally, like the downhill skiers, their worst case scenario is what in their sport?
Death,
yeah. Exactly. So, how do you stand at the top of the mountain, and then step into the starting gate? You can't have that as your focus. So you have to have long time ago come to peace with death is a possibility. In their case, severe injury is a reality. They will have a severe injury during their career. It's going to happen. It's whether you can recover from that injury is the question or not, and ski again, because it always happens in that sport. So they have to have a probability of, in this run, if it's an Olympic run, you may take a higher risk than if it's a non-Olympic run, right?
Yep.
Because the reward is greater.
Yep.
So if I choose a line that's a faster line, but my probability of wiping out is 30%, but I'm willing to take that chance that 70% of the time it works and 30% of the time I wipe out and I don't qualify at all, in a big event, sometimes that's the right thing. If it's just important to have a good run, then you want to lower that risk. So the probability is tied to worst case scenario. It's very important to work with those together and get to the acceptable risk. And then, Kim, you have to be able to set it off the side.
Yep.
That's the important piece here. Worst case scenario, probability, okay, I got it, I'm okay. Off to the side. and which will take us to the further steps, which is focus on what you want to accomplish. And that's coming up next.
Excellent. Thank you so much, TC. I really appreciate you doing this series with me.
You bet, Kim.